items in the pouch in front of you.
And have a safe and informative journey.
Hello, I'm Nathan Hartman, and this is Dreamfinders, a podcast about the creative culture of Disney theme parks. Attraction pre-shows are an interesting aspect of theme park storytelling. They're the first act of a ride's story, giving us the background and mood we need to know as we fill in all the available space and wait for our chance at adventure. And some of these become quotable favorites for generations. Today's guest is, one of these. Actor David Danipour portrays Dr. Stevens in Pandora Flight of Passage at Animal Kingdom and has quickly become a recognizable part of that land. A fan favorite to some and an oddity to others, David's performance grounds an extraordinary experience and has helped change exactly what we think a pre-show can be. David sits down with me to talk about getting lost at Disneyland when he was young, making his way through the Los Angeles comedy scene, and working on shows like The Good Place and Westworld. All of that and more is coming right up on Dreamfinders. David Danipour, thanks for coming on Dreamfinders. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on from, I'm guessing, 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, because I'm in sunny Florida and you're in sunny California. So
yes,
we were able to make it work, though. It's much closer than me trying to get to you at Pandora, though. And that's, of course, what we're here to talk about. Because as a lot of people all people that listen to this podcast, it's very niche, know you from, of course, as Dr. Stevens from Animal Kingdom's Flight of Passage. But what I don't think they realize is that you actually have a science background, right? You taught high school physics for a little while. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. You're a good reporter.
I do my best.
You yeah. I went to UC San Diego, and then I studied molecular biology, and right after I graduated, I just needed like a temporary job, and I did substitute teaching in San Diego. And the physics teacher had a heart attack at a school, and so they needed me and he's okay. He ended up he was okay. It was a mild thing, but he just couldn't come to work, sort of thing. And so I taught this class with no experience of teaching ever. But I did understand all the concepts, physics, and I taught these kids who didn't want to learn physics a lot of the time. I'll tell you that.
Did you enjoy it though? Like for yourself at least, even if they weren't enjoying it, or was it like, you sort of semi fell into it? So was it what you were expecting?
I did enjoy. I did enjoy it because in high school, not everyone is in a class that they want to be in, but there is a percentage that do want to learn it. And so you kind of have to simultaneously teach and also like cheerlead or sort of like sell the subject to the class. But when the kids, there's always like a few kids that are really into it, and you can tell they come in after class, they ask some more in-depth questions, and it was always good to get that back and forth. And it's rewarding either way. You're passing on some knowledge. So yeah, I do have a science background, I guess is the
Weirdly enough, it's appropriate. But like, why biology? Like, why did you decide that that's what you were going? Because clearly, I mean, I guess in theory, you've used it a little bit between this and some other projects in the sense of being sciencey. But beyond that, it's not necessarily something that you're connected with. Going to college, were you sort of thinking that'll be a staple and you were already interested in acting and improv and stuff at that point? Or when did that transition happen?
It was not at all. I grew up in an immigrant household. My dad is Middle Eastern and my mom is Guatemalan. And they both, English was like a second language to them, and they're like working class. And so like doing anything in the arts is sort of unheard of. It's like this is sort of like the cliche from the immigrant family. It's like you're gonna be like an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, or something where you wear a suit and go to work. It's like that's the goal. And so I liked science, so I was just decided, okay, I'll study science, and I enjoyed all the classes. I actually went to graduate school too, at UC Davis. I went to graduate school for bio engineering, but I dropped out. I dropped out 1 year in because the thing is, I liked learning science, but I didn't like working in a laboratory setting which is funny because that's like the character that I play. but I didn't enjoy, the time delays between like an experiment and waiting to see if it works. And then if it doesn't work, then you got to start all over. It's like it's just complete unknown. So I have a lot of respect, to the real people, the scientists out there doing all that work with like a lot of it ends up returning like nothing. It's like, so now we know that this doesn't work is what they sort of figured out for like 6 months, but then I just started, you see shows and you get interested, and that's what happened with me. I saw a show at UC Davis. It was the Bird Strike Theater at UC Davis, and it's sort of like started playing in my mind, and I just auditioned 1 year, and then I got on, and then I'm from LA, so I just started taking classes at UCB Theater, IO West, Second City, and one thing led to another, and it just sort of became my career.
Well, yeah. and you said, of course, that your family's half Guatemalan and half Middle Eastern. Where did your parents meet? I mean, that's not. I mean, and them being like, had they already immigrated to America by that point and then met, or did they meet in like Guatemala or something of that nature?
Oh, good question. They met in the United States. Yeah, they both came for their own reasons. I'm guessing economic not goodness, and
that's the technical term.
Yeah, that's the highly technical term. And they came to the United States, and then they just met in LA, and got married, had my brother who's older than me, and then I came around, and poof. There you go.
Were you creative though as a kid at all? I mean, I clearly, like, having a creative profession wasn't necessarily something that was viable necessarily, but were you still creative in different ways?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think all of us are creative. There was this one drum class that I took in elementary school, and there was like a camera set up because the teacher was trying to get certified to teach all over the country. It's like some sort of national certification, and what he needed to do was like film a class. And so he wanted to, get certified in music. So he's like teaching us how to play the drums. And I'm just constantly giving this camera, like every time he says something, I'll like give it a look, like the way The Office. And this is like, in the early 90s when I'm a child, just giving it a look. And, a week later, the teacher comes up to me and he goes, "David, you're a class clown. I saw all those looks you were giving," and I didn't really understand. He gave all of us a copy of the tape, and then later when I'm looking at it, pretty spot on. Every time he says something, a little questionable, I would give the camera a look, like. And there's even once where I like lipped okay. So I think, like a lot of us, we find the way wherever we are to just unleash our creativity, and whoever we really are just sort of comes out. I think wherever you are, whoever you're with, it'll just come out, I think.
So growing up in LA, even though from a working class family, like, did you get to go to Disneyland much as a kid at all, or did you ever get that opportunity, or were you one of those families that, though it was close, it was more like the Disney films and that sort of stuff that like got you into Disney stuff?
It's so funny because I'm from LA, and you would think you go to Disneyland all the time, but you only go, well, this is how it is with me, my family growing up. The only time you go to Disneyland or any special place is when relatives come over. You know, relatives or friends from out of town
because they're going to want to go. Yeah, I mean the same in Florida.
So
Like it's the same
that's
way.
when we're going to Disneyland. Okay, so it's a human condition. When something's right next to you, you're like, I'll do it later. So yeah, I have a story from a Disneyland experience. So Disneyland's great, having fun, doing all the rides. And then, you know, at the end of the night, it's the street sort of starts to clear way, and everyone sort of starts to file on one side of the street or the other. And it's for the electric parade. And during this, and there's a lot of people that go to this parade. It's like the whole park will rush to the street, and there's huge crowds. And here I am, this like 7 or 8 year old, and somehow I end up on the wrong side of the street from my family, and you know, I lose them. So there was like a 10-minute panic after. You know, I couldn't enjoy the parade. Because the whole time I'm just like, where are they? I couldn't see them across, you know, and everyone's just enjoying, you know, the music. And I'm sure that's not exactly how it goes. But, you know, 10 minutes of panic trying to find. And then when I do find them, they're not a care in the world. Oh, there you are. I thought it was like the end, you know, all these thoughts running through my 7-year-old brain, like, oh no, this is it. It's me on my own. How am I going to get food? Where am I going to sleep? But then I found them. Everything was great. But that's like a memory that's like in my head. Other than that, I haven't gone as much to Disneyland. You know, I would love to go to see the Avatar ride, but I haven't been able to. Like, I think they told me they were gonna like set it up somehow, but it never came through. So I still haven't been to the Florida Disneyland, you know, or Disney World. Yeah, I know you guys don't like that.
Yeah, it's bigger here. You know your place. But no, what I think is what's funny to me is like you're not the first I have talked to about that. I talked to a guy who was the kid actor in Cranium Command, which was this ride at Epcot in the 80s, early 90s, I should say. And he was like, yeah, no, they never got me out either. Wow. Maybe it's just a Disney thing. They're like, yeah, we'll get you out. And then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. We'll get you out. And then next thing you know, no more return calls. The emails are just like sending you to spam.
Yeah, the mouse is not picking up anymore. Well, we'll get, you know, you got to get out here. You got to see it, of course.
And I will say that you know, I got a message from all these Disney World employees that work the ride, and they were saying they were going to fly me out, but I didn't want to. I just thought that was unfair that they would have to pay for it. You know, they're like, "Hey, we want to get you out here. We'll fly out." I'm like, it's okay. I'll one day.
You know, you would think they've had enough of you at this point, over and over and over again, but apparently they want to see you.
I know. I imagine how that
is. Well, let's talk a little bit about comedy. You, of course, got into it, as you said, kind of in college, seeing shows. Were there? It seems like your evolution in comedy was sort of like a late bloomer to it, opposed to like someone who was like knee deep obsessed with comedy at a young age. Were there things that you loved in comedy though when you were younger, and then later on you realized, oh, this is why when I am being funny, this is why I'm being funny this way? Were there people like that inspired you?
Oh, I mean, I do have there are people that I just think are all time hilarious. Steve Martin, it's just, oh man, that guy is so funny. Chris Farley always cracked me up. Eddie Murphy, Will Ferrell, all these guys just really funny. And Melissa McCarthy, really hilarious. But I don't know. It's just, it was never a thought that came through to me as a younger person. Like, oh, this is what I want to do. I mean, I'm not really a stand-up comedian. I just do like sort of comic acting. And a lot of the stuff that I book, that's sort of the role that I get. Although, you know, the Disney thing isn't supposed to be funny in any way. I don't think.
It's you are the
although-
most disheveled, I would say, of
Yeah.
people giving. You're very natural.
You know what it is? That because I remember when I was there on set, and they wanted me to be someone that was, like in Antarctica, or like that's the analogy you gave. It's like you're in this remote place, you're by yourself all the time, and then all of a sudden these people just pop out at you, and you're just like, oh, this is really, hey, how's everyone doing? Sort of thing. So I guess that's because that they didn't want me to shave. Disheveled is a good way to describe it.
Well, you have this great. You probably haven't seen it. There's this amazing quote by Imagineer Joe Rohde, who is the executive Imagineer at Disney, and he pretty much is. The best way to put it is the Walt Disney of Animal Kingdom. It's sort of his baby, and people were asking him about sort of what has become your Disney catchphrase, which is just basically fly, right? That's sort of the thing that's the kicker. People really like that.
Oh, wow. That's so funny.
And when you're in the ride, sort of Haunted Mansion style, like people will go, fly. Like they just they know the line. And this is what he said on his Instagram, because people asked him about that. And he said that your character's this is his quote, an ill-shaven man who seems unsure of what to say in the preamble to a major theme park experience. At Animal Kingdom, we always try to place our design right in that place where you're not quite sure, is this really real? So tweaking the performance into something that seems unrehearsed and unpackaged, that way makes you perk up. And I think that's really interesting that they sort of gave you that analogy. Was there this desire from them for you to give it this sort of I don't know how to put it. Like when you see certain pre-shows, right? They're like, "Hey, everybody! Like, here we go. We're going to do this thing."
No, right? It's
and
like extremely polished. It's like a sort of like a host.
Yeah, like a carnival,
like
barker.
a carnival host or something. Or it's like
But you were like your performance is like to that point. Some people are like, "What?" Like they don't know how to like think about it because it is not that polished. What was that process for you finding how to do that beyond like? Just them giving you some direction. Was that an easy process? To like, it seems like it'd be hard to be unrehearsed, I guess is the way I'm saying it.
Yeah. Well, what happened was, I don't know if this was intentional, but they had all new lines like the day before. And when I got there, it's like, they're adding new things that I've never seen before. They're like, by the way, these are the new lines. There's an iPad right under the camera that's my quote unquote teleprompter. And they're like, don't look at it though. So there are all these new lines coming in, and they're for reference, it's on the iPad, but don't look at it if you can, please. That would be great. So I don't know if that was intentional, but it probably ended up giving them something like that where, it's just new lines, and also they're rearranging the lines, because the way they described it to me was that you don't know how long they're going to be waiting in line each time they go, and so depending on how long they're waiting, that's how long the pre-show is going to be. So they had, I had to do like a lot of different versions, and it would just be switched on me on the day, and so I don't know if that was intentional for the character. And then another thing that adds to something. I don't know if you noticed this, but the entire thing is ADR'd. And that just means that I went back and sort of lip synced myself with, I recorded my voice again because they messed up on the audio somehow. They're like, David, sorry about your whole day of shooting, but we messed up on the audio. So just come on and record everything. And then they're like, we really want those uhs and ums. So I think that like sometimes in an effort to like, cause while you're ADRing, you're like looking at your mouth and you're trying to place the or the like right on spot. So I think they might've come off like a little too hard or I don't know what, but,
that's fascinating.
Yeah. So it's like all ADR'd. I mean, you can hear me right now. I say uhs and ums just sort of naturally. Yeah,
it's not as emphasized. And that's what's like, I think is so crazy. It's like, and I get it. Like, Disney is a company and there's a lot of people and stuff, but it's like when you're like, yeah, I was off an iPad and like, like
they jimmied this iPad and it's just like there's this woman that's just sort of like looking at me and just she's turning a knob and the words sort of move. It's yeah.
How was the audition process? I mean, you didn't know going in what you were auditioning for at all, did you?
No, I didn't. It was just I think it was labeled something like grad science student or something like that. And for another thing with these like quote unquote secret projects is that you go in and you audition for the sides they give you, the lines they give you, and then when you get it, it's like brand new. I think I was like the way I was auditioning, it made it seem like I was guiding people through like a Martian ship or something, and then all of a sudden it just changes completely. They're like, okay, this is for Disney. It's like, oh wow. And I got to go to the Imagineers, and all the Imagineers were awesome, in Burbank where one of their offices is. It's such a cool environment to work in there, and you can tell they're all very passionate and enthusiastic about what they do, and it's pretty infectious to work with all the Imagineers. They were great. I don't know if you've ever worked with them or met them, but amazing people.
I've had the ability to talk to a couple, and yeah, they're just like really fun people. They have interesting stories always, which is incredible. The question I have is, of course, like, how did they explain the experience for you? Because I imagine at some point they had to tell you it was Avatar, and then that it wasn't the sequel, and then that there was like this one thing, and because Avatar's like this huge movie, especially when they're doing probably the audition process for this. I mean, it's really in the cultural kind of conscience. How did they explain to you that this is going to be part of a theme park experience?
It was just pretty straightforward that, it's people are going to be walking into a room and you're going to be talking to them through the, TV set, and, and I'm supposed to be in some remote location, sort of guiding them through. It wasn't too much, they had a lot of, details to get out, and it just, in terms of like the avatar types and, how the other doctor is working with them. So yeah, it was just pretty straightforward. I've seen Avatar before, and I've been to Disney rides and Magic Mountain and all these other theme parks. So I sort of understood, this is the guy that's on the TV that some people might be like, oh God, cause I've read, you're not supposed to read the comments, but I've read comments, and like, some people really hate me. Like, they really hate, and it's really funny that I did this thing, like years ago, and for one day, or 2 days if you count the recording my voice all over again, but then you're still getting reactions from people. So that's really interesting that I get, or at least according to the comments, some people really do not like Dr. Stevens.
I think the naturalization is what polarizes people. I think that polarizing. They kind of confuse the natural vibe of it because literally in the same park, you go to just go to Dinosaur down the way, and there's one of those polished sort of pre-shows, and so you're like the most unique pre-show in that sense. From an acting perspective, and I just don't think people know what to do with it. Like it is so different. But what is that? Yeah. What's that impact like for you? I think it is so interesting.
Oh, by the way, that and fly thing that was like completely improvised.
Oh wow.
And they're like, oh, we're keeping that. We're keeping that.
It's on shirts, I'm sure. If you looked it up at this point, it'd be on shirts.
Oh yeah, I have friends that send me stuff like that. They're like, oh, by the way, this thing's on a T-shirt. You should try to sell it. And I don't know if I don't want to get sued or anything.
Yeah, Disney's
by making
quite
an extra
litigious.
couple $100. Yeah.
It has to be this very strange experience that there is a place that you could go, which is Animal Kingdom, where if you walked around, everyone would know who you are. And that's got to be a weird experience.
Well, I've never experienced it, so it's just it's sort of imaginary still. You know, it doesn't make any sense. You're saying it, and I just think I don't know about that. I've never experienced that. So,
well, if you ever need a confidence boost,
yeah, if I'm ever in a depressed hole, I can just fly to Orlando.
That's true.
And just walk around for a week, and then I'll come back to my home feeling great.
Yeah.
I used to play in this basketball league that was 6 feet and under, and that was a confidence booster, I'll tell you that, because I'm like right at the cusp of 6 feet. So I would just go there and just, you know, be like the center and the guard and just have a dominating Sunday with my friends. But yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your improv and acting and that sort of stuff. You, of course, you mentioned earlier, right? You've done stuff for the UCB in Second City and Iowa West, and
Iowa West is closed down.
That's right.
They're no more.
I forgot about that. Oh,
yeah.
Which is sad because I really loved when I got to go see shows at Iowa West.
Oh wow, yeah.
And I guess my question is like, how do you get from nothing in the sense of doing or being a part of acting? Do you just start the way a lot of people do, taking classes and learning about it, or what was your way in?
Oh, so I started taking classes, and you sort of network with other actors, and then they recommend you to, or you ask them to recommend you to an agent, and then you get an agent, and then they start sending you out to auditions, and then you go to the auditions and you don't book for a long time, and then you do finally, and then you feel great, and then you end up getting more auditions because you have, you know, it's always like, well, why should we book you if you don't have anything? So you sort of have to create your own content, which everyone's always saying, make your own content. It's so easy on your iPhone, which it's sort of true, but it's also sort of not true, because you sort of need, I mean, you could do it on your iPhone. Anything's possible, but it doesn't always look as good if you're not an expert in like how to hold the camera the right way. And, you know, so you still need expertise and other people to come and organizing everything. So you just sort of do that, make your own content. So you have like a reel to show people what you can do. And then, you just get auditions and then hopefully get those jobs. And then you try to get more jobs. I'm still, I would say, early in my career in terms of getting things. I've only done like a couple TV things.
Yeah, and
so hopefully I could get some more.
You're making a name for you're doing your own stuff, right? So like you did this short film called "I Really Need This Audition," where your character basically begs another actor to leave a casting waiting room because you're the only two left, and if he leaves, then you won't be a failure to your parents. I'm assuming this idea came from your own frustrations from the auditioning process?
No, it wasn't really frustration. It was just a scene that I improvised that I ended up turning into a sketch that went well on stage. And then you try to like convert it into a video. Sometimes they don't translate as well. This one was, I thought it was okay. I liked it a lot. The people that edited it together, I think, did a really good job. And Colin, my buddy, who's the other actor, I felt so bad when I had to smack him. There's one part where I had to slap him in the face. Yeah, I felt really bad. He kept saying, "Hit me, go ahead, hit me, really hit me hard." Yeah. So yeah, you just do those things. It just sort of came from an improv scene, I guess, is the answer to that question.
If you watch your stuff and that could be your short films or stuff that you've done on television, you have, I guess I would say, it's like a dry wit or a dry humor with your delivery. Is that like a certain style you go for, or does that come really easy for you? Because it's always makes me laugh, like when you do it.
Oh, thank you.
But like, is that a specific? What is your like comforting space when it comes to acting? Like, what do you feel like is your thing?
Well, the dry thing. I just sort of try to go out and just sort of just be there, and then that's what sort of comes out. but I'm not consciously trying to be that.
That's even better.
Okay, yeah, I'm not trying to do that. But that's just, I guess, who I sort of am in some instances. So yeah, I don't know. It's just the way people are who they are, and then that's what sort of comes out.
Is there what did you learn from your training that you think has probably helped you the most when it comes to, I don't know, television acting?
You know, in improv, the listening is probably the best tool that you get. It's sort of like you just have to listen, and whatever they say will inform what you do, which includes what you might say next. And that just helps and eases everything completely, because you just sort of try to be present, I guess, is what ends up happening. And so, yeah, it's just the listening. And it also gives you a little bit of less fear to go a little off script, because you've done it so many times. And, you know, on film you can, well, actually, I don't, when you're doing these big like productions, you I don't think you should go off script. Especially if it's like well written, you just don't do that, because I think they might not ask you to come back again if you unless whatever you pull out is amazingly great. Yeah. So I guess that's the risk. The switch off. Yeah, that's the risk. It's your risk. You gotta. So it's all risk. Yeah, that's what it is. It's all risk. And you know, people that are more established can do more risky things, because they don't have to worry about, you know, never working again, which is like a actor's fear, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I've got to talk to you at a great time, because you have been on our televisions a little bit recently. In fact, I got in touch with you because I was just watching the penultimate episode of The Good Place, and lo and behold, there you were. Tell me about that experience. What was it like to sort of find yourself on what is probably arguably one of the best comedies of the last several years?
Oh, it's a great show. And I didn't know anything about the show when I went on, you know, which is probably a good thing.
Less pressure.
And those guys, that cast and crew, they were all amazing. They're all so kind. And, you know, they sort of understand that you're just there for one day, but they still sort of take you in as their own, you know, and don't exclude you from anything, which is great, especially because they're all, you know, great stars. They don't need to do that, but they do. And it's great that they have their groundedness with them. And yeah, that show, I mean, it was just really funny. The character who's supposed to be, and I'm not allowed to tell anybody anything, you know, for months.
Yeah, that's true.
And, you know, it's the same old thing where you audition with like a different script because it's so top secret. And then you go there and they only give you your lines, so you have no idea what's going on. You have no idea. It's like I go there and they're like, okay, so, well, I don't want to do any spoilers if anyone hasn't seen.
Oh, go ahead.
Penultimate.
At this point, let's just say it like this: if you skip ahead, if you don't want to hear about the end of The Good Place, but at this point, you've had time. It's on Hulu. Go finish it and come on back. So there you go. You can go ahead and spoil.
Right.
They can only get mad at me because I'm the one that said it.
Do what I did and watch everything in like 2 or 3 weeks, and then come back. Yeah, so it's like, you know, they're like, okay, so there's going to be this party, and they're like dressing me up. I'm like, what is this outfit? And the wardrobe is like, well, you're just a little bit of all the characters. And I didn't understand anything that was, you know, I didn't understand the shrimp cocktails that I had in my hand. I didn't understand anything, you know, because I hadn't seen the show. And when I started watching the show with my girlfriend, she loved the show. She was like, oh, this is a good show. Let's start from the beginning. So we started watching it, and it's so funny. And I get the shrimp. Oh, the shrimp, of course. She ate all the shrimp. That's why there's shrimp in this heaven. And, you know, all these jerseys for the Jaguars is because Manny's character loves that team. So yeah, everything starts to piece together, and it's a great show. I would recommend it to anybody. And I really love all the philosophy. They're sort of teaching you in the show, you know. They're teaching you about ethics while you're watching and getting entertained. I don't know if anyone can do that again. Yeah. Well, maybe they should do that with like math or physics or something else, just like a comedy, and then they teach you some math and you just sort of are learning even though you're just being entertained.
Hey, maybe a little physics. That gets you an in for the audition because you've had experience with physics.
Right. Put me in that one.
You also recently showed up on HBO on Westworld, playing similarly, another sort of sciencey guy. You seem to get some sciencey guys now and then.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What was that experience? I mean, it's you couldn't go more like opposite than probably the Good Place and Westworld. Was that an experience like? Were you prepared for a dramatic? I mean, you're not really dramatic, I guess is the best way to put it in that space. You're somewhat the comic relief for the moment. But what was that atmosphere like? Did it feel different than doing a NBC sitcom?
It's just everyone's just professional. Right. So it's sort of in that sense it's the same. But yeah, it's the stakes are different for sure. The character stakes are different, and like the character, and yeah, there's no punchline. So although I thought this scene, I'm in it. Let's be honest, I'm in it for a very short time.
Yes, good interactions.
But it's still. I'm surprised people can recognize me. That's just
That's a good thing. That's what you want.
I guess it's a good thing. Even my friends sometimes, I'm like, how do you you remember what I look like? It's just, it's amazing that people can spot other people on TV like that for such a short duration. But it's still a great experience. And yeah, those actors, they're really good. So they just sort of like pull you in, and you just sort of follow their step. They're just really great. So they just pull you in, and you just sort of follow through.
So wrapping up, of course, for those who don't know, right now we are recording during the sort of virus time, and so no one's out and about, and there's probably not a lot of anything going on. But right. Are there things in the pipeline that people can find you online and keep in touch and find out what's going on with what you're up to?
The short answer is no, because everything's shut down. Like everything. I mean, I'm in LA and everything is just shut down, and rightly so. But there's probably some. Actually, no, there is some stuff that might be coming on, but I can't say. You sign these contracts that are like 50 pages, and you just ask, "What is this?" Oh, that's the NDA, and so. It's 50 pages. Sometimes I got in a fight with my girlfriend just because she wanted to know information about about what I'm doing, and I was like, "Oh, I signed this NDA," and then she started saying that she thinks Michelle Obama knows everything, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Barack Obama. This was back. This argument happened pre-2016, but. She's like, I'm pretty sure Barack tells Michelle everything. I'm like, I don't think Barack tells Michelle everything. He doesn't want to endanger her. He's like, Michelle, she's like, Michelle knows everything. And so, we've had this argument with so many friends, and most of them say what I say. I don't think Barack is telling. And then she goes, no, well, they don't, their relationship's not as good then, is what she says.
It sounds like you're in a quandary either way.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm in some stuff. Just be on the lookout, I guess is the best way to say
Any good social media?
Or you can follow on the social media at David Danipour. It's for Twitter and Instagram, I believe. I don't really post that much. I probably should. That's what they all tell you. Social media is the future, but I just can't. I just don't feel like, anything is that important
or that interesting
to post. Yeah, I don't know. I need to maybe I need to learn before I become extinct and just start posting stuff, doing those stories.
Well, I'll send my people, my listeners here. I'll send them to your socials, and maybe you'll have more of a reason to. You'll have more people to post and talk with. So I'm sure they'd love to see what you're up to. So David Danipour, thank you so much for coming on Dreamfinders. I can't thank you enough. It's been a lot of fun talking to you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And that's it for this episode of Dreamfinders. Thanks to David Danipour for coming on and chatting. Dreamfinders is edited by Shannon Mickelson with quality control by Ben Harris. It's hosted and produced by yours truly, Nathan Hartman, who you can follow on Twitter at SomeStuffISaid. Our podcast artwork is provided by JP Tanner. Find his other work at tanwoodcreative.com. This podcast is distributed by WDW News Today, the worldwide leader in Disney Parks news. Read all they have to offer at WDWNT.com. Tell your friends about this show, and please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It means a lot. And if someone you know would make a great guest on this program, feel free to email us at dreamfinders@WDWNT.com. I'm Nathan Hartman, and remember, if we can dream it, then we can do it.